I hope you're doing well. We're going through the book of Job, and in the last session, we saw that Job cries out in despair, and he laments the day that he was even born. Now, the backdrop is always important to remember that Job was picked by God as an example of a man who is righteous, blameless, and fears God and turns from evil. And then all of this calamity comes down upon him. And so he despairs of life itself. Now his three friends have come to mourn with him 7 days and 7 nights. And after Job speaks, then his friends quit being friends when they start talking. But listen to this, chapter 4 and 5. It says, then Eliphaz the Temanite answered and said, the fact that they use this Temanite probably means that he is a descendant of Esau. And we shouldn't be surprised that other people outside of the direct Hebrew line knew of God Almighty. Many had revelation of God's almighty power, even though they weren't Hebrew. And he says, if one ventures a word with you, will you be impatient? Yet who can keep from speaking? Behold, you have instructed many and have strengthened the weak hands. Your words have upheld him who was stumbling, and you have made firm the feeble knees. But now it has come to you, and you are impatient. It touches you, and you are dismayed. Is not your fear of God your confidence, and the integrity of your ways your hope? So he's both complimenting Job, but he's saying, he's implying an inconsistency that in his mind, Eliphaz mind, the guilty suffer and the innocent prosper. So he has a very transactional God. Do good, get good. Do more, try harder, and you'll be the beneficiary of the blessings of God. Not very different than how many churches teach. They forget that we're all guilty, and when God redeems us, he redeems us by his grace. His blessings come to us not because of self-effort, and he's not punishing Job. He's going to bring out what Job needed, even though Job couldn't experience. But Eliphaz has the answer. He's got God figured out. He's a good theologian, and he has God all figured out, but not really. He says, he talks about the fear of God being his confidence, and he's making some assumptions about why Job is suffering. And then he goes on, he says, remember who that was innocent ever perished, or where were the upright cut off? As I have seen, those who plow iniquity and sow trouble reap the same. By the breath of God they perish, and by the blast of his anger they are consumed. And here is Job suffering, and he hasn't done anything wrong. He was considered upright, blameless, God said of him to Satan. He's being tested, no doubt. He's being afflicted by the enemy, no doubt. But it wasn't because of any evil he had done. And we know this, right? We look at the New Testament and the early church as the book of Acts, that those people who were faithful to God often ended up as martyrs. Was it because they did something wrong? No, they had been blessed to be identified with the suffering of God. And I hope that will be our attitude, because in life, there's suffering. We all know that by experience. He says, the roar of the lion, the voice of the fierce lion, the teeth of the young lions are broken. The strong lion perishes for lack of prey, and the cubs of the lioness are scattered. Now a word was brought to me stealthily. My ear received the whisper of it amid thoughts from the vision of the night when deep sleep falls on men. Dread came upon me and trembling, which made all my bones shake. So he's explaining that he thinks he's received a revelation from God in some dream that he's had. A spirit glided past my face. The hair of my flesh stood up. It stood still, but I could not discern its appearance. A form was before me. There was silence. Then I heard a voice. Can mortal man be in the right before God? Well, the question was, is anyone good? And we ask this question often, don't we? Why do good people suffer? Well, the pat answer, depending on your theology, is there's no good men. It's never happened. It only happened once, and that was Jesus, because we're all sinners. So why would we put ourselves in the place of discerning God, an infinite, omnipotent God who created all things, and pretend like we could understand even a little bit of how he's working? So he continues on. Can a man be pure before his maker? Well, even in his servant he puts no trust, and his angels he charges with error, which is true. How much more those who dwell in houses of clay, whose foundation is in the dust, who are crushed like the moth. Between morning and evening they are beaten to pieces. They perish forever without anyone regarding it. Is not their tent cord plucked up within them? Do they not die, and that without wisdom? And then in chapter 5 he continues. He goes, call now. Is there anyone who will answer you? To which the holy ones will you turn? Surely vexation kills the fool, and jealousy slays the simple. I have seen the fool taking root, but suddenly I cursed his dwelling. His children are far from safety. They are crushed in the gate, and there is no one to deliver them. The hungry eat the harvest, and he takes it even out of thorns. And the thirsty pant after his wealth, for affliction does not come from the dust, nor does trouble sprout from the ground. But a man is born to trouble as the sparks fly upward. Job has lost all of his wealth and his children, and I don't see how this is going to be very comforting to him. He says, man is born to trouble and as the sparks fly upward, and they most certainly do fly upward, don't they? And we all do experience trouble and trials, but our Christian perspective is so different. He says, as for me, I would seek God, and to God I would commit my cause, who does great things and unsearchable, marvelous things without number. Truth. This is our God. He gives rain on the earth and sends water on the fields. He sets on high those who are lowly, and those who mourn are lifted to safety. He frustrates the devices of the crafty so that their hands achieve no success. He catches the wise in their own craftiness, and schemes of the wily are brought to a quick end. They meet with darkness in the daytime and grope at noonday as in the night. But he saves the needy from the sword of the mouth and from the hand of the mighty. So the poor have hope, and injustice shuts her mouth. He's making quite a lot of assumption about the guilt that Job has hidden. He calls it crafty, and God's exposed it. And he says, blessed is the one who God reproves. Therefore despise not the discipline of the Almighty. Well, that is a true statement. We learn in the New Testament scriptures that God chastens those that he loves because they're sons. And if you're not chastened, then you're not a son. However, this chastening or this discipline that is being talked about isn't the cause of what God's doing in Job's life. He's teaching him certainly a lesson that we're going to see in the future. But it's not as his friend is calling it. For he says, for he wounds, but he binds up. He shatters, but his hands heal. He will deliver you from 6 troubles. In 7, no evil shall touch you. In famine, he will redeem you from death, and in war, from the power of the sword. You shall be hidden from the lash of the tongue, and shall not fear destruction when it comes. At destruction and famine, you shall laugh, and shall not fear the beasts of the earth, for you shall be in league with the stones of the field, and the beasts of the field shall be at peace with you. You shall know that your tent is at peace, and you shall inspect your fold and miss nothing. You shall know also that your offspring shall be many, and your descendants as the grass of the earth. You shall come to your grave in a ripe old age, like a sheaf gathered up in its season. Behold, this we have searched out. It is true. Hear and know it for your own good. So he has the answer. The answer is he's suffering because of something he's done wrong, and he needs to repent. You know, we are dangerous creatures when we assume we know what God is doing in a person's life. When we see someone suffering and we pretend to know that their suffering is caused by some hidden sinful act. And it's a tragedy that we don't allow Christ in us to come and comfort those who are suffering. Let all of our suffering be a cause for thanksgiving, because we know God is working and using it for good, without bringing any guilt or condemnation upon that other person. To be lovers of the hurting, to be the one who is the friend, the neighbor who cares for the one who has been beaten and robbed and left on the side of the road for death. I mean, these are the parables that Jesus was teaching. This was the life that Jesus was modeling. Not guilt, not shame, but no condemnation, because he became what we were. He became sin for us that we might be the righteousness of God in Christ. And so it is not our place to examine those who are going through suffering and attribute it to some hidden sin. If that were the case, we would all be exposed and left guilty. But we have a Redeemer who yet lives. Have a great day.